The Sahara Desert is often called another name for death. In 1994, during a brutal marathon, something unbelievable happened. A man disappeared in the middle of 130 for runners. No body was found, no trace. It was as if he never existed. But then, after 9 days, he suddenly appeared again alive far across the border in an unknown place. This is the shocking story of Italian police officer Mauro Prosperi. A man even death could not take. Welcome back. This terrifying story belongs to Mauro Prosperi, a police officer from Italy. He had a deep passion for pentathlon, a sport that trains a person in fencing, swimming, horse riding, shooting, and running. This training made him mentally tough and physically strong. It taught him discipline and the power to never give up. One day, his friend Giovanni told him about a deadly race in the Sahara Desert called Marathon des Sables. It is known as one of the toughest races in the world. The challenge is simple to say, but deadly to attempt run to 151 kilometers in just 7 days. Completely alone. But the distance was not the only challenge. The real danger was survival. Every runner had to carry their own food, clothes, cooking tools, and survival gear in a backpack. The organizers only provided water at checkpoints and sometimes a tent at night. Everything else depended on the runner. Mauro and his friend decided to join this race. To prepare, they trained hard. Every day, they ran 40 kilometers and practiced using less water to get used to desert conditions. On April 10, 1994, when Mauro was 38 years old, the race began from a remote village in Morocco called Found Squid. This area marks the beginning of the harsh Sahara Desert. A total of 130 runners participated, including Mauro and his friend. The first 3 days went as planned. Together, they completed 96 kilometers. The terrain was extremely difficult. Sometimes they ran on hard salt plains, sometimes on sharp rocks, and sometimes through endless sand dunes. Each runner had to find their own path and reach the next checkpoint alone. The desert was so vast that runners quickly became separated from each other. Everyone was alone, surrounded by silence and endless sand. Each participant had a survival kit, including a compass and a flare gun to signal for help if needed. The race had 6 stages. On April 14th, Mauro and his friend entered the 4th stage. This was the longest and most difficult part of the race, 85 kilometers to be completed in just 2 days. It was afternoon. The sun was burning, and the temperature had reached 46 degrees Celsius. Mauro increased his speed and moved ahead, leaving his friend behind. He was now running completely alone. After running around 32 kilometers, Mauro noticed a dust devil forming in front of him. Within moments, strong winds began to rise. To protect himself, he changed direction and climbed a sand dune. But the winds quickly turned into a powerful sandstorm. The situation became dangerous. Mauro believed that if he stopped, he would be buried alive in the storm. So he kept running, straight into the chaos. In the middle of the storm, Mauro thought he could still see the race markers, but in reality, it was just an illusion. The storm had erased all signs. Within a short time, he had lost the path completely and was far away from all other runners. As evening approached, darkness began to fall. Still, there was no checkpoint in sight. That was the moment Moro realized the truth. He was completely lost. The storm had damaged his body badly. His skin had turned red. Blood was coming from his nose. Sand had filled his throat, making it dry and painful. Breathing itself had become difficult. With no other option, he stopped and spent the night beside a small bush. He covered his face with a towel to protect himself from the wind and fell asleep, hoping that the next day would show him a way out. Morning came on the 5th day. The weather was calmer. Moro gathered his strength and started running again, believing he could still find the right direction. For the next 4 hours, Moro kept moving forward. Then he climbed a very high and doomed to look around. What he saw shocked him completely. There was nothing, no path, no signs, no people, only endless sand in every direction. By now, his water was almost finished. To stay alive, he had no choice but to do something extreme. He started drinking his own urine to keep his body hydrated. As the sun began to set on the 5th day, he suddenly heard a sound, a helicopter. Hope returned instantly. Moro quickly took out his flare gun and fired it to get attention. But luck was not on his side. The sunlight was still too bright, and the flare could not be seen clearly. The helicopter passed without noticing him and disappeared. Moro was alone again, lost in the silent desert. At that moment, he understood that no one was coming to rescue him. This was now a fight between him and the Sahara itself. On the 6th day, after walking for hours under the burning sun, Moro saw something in the distance. It was an old, broken structure. As he got closer, he realized it was an abandoned shrine. He felt a small hope. Maybe there would be water or people. But when he entered, there was nothing, only an old grave and complete silence. Still, he did not give up. He took out a small Italian flag from his bag and placed it on top of the shrine, hoping that someone flying above might notice it. But his biggest problem was hunger and thirst. His body had become extremely weak. Then he noticed bats hanging from the ceiling. Survival forced him to do the unthinkable. He caught the bats, killed them with his pocket knife, and drank their blood to keep his body alive. For the next few days, he survived by eating bats, lizards, and small insects. Every moment was a struggle to stay alive. At one point, Moro saw an airplane far in the sky. He wanted to signal it, but he had nothing left to burn for smoke. In desperation, he burned his own backpack. But once again, fate turned against him. The smoke quickly disappeared in the strong desert winds. The plane did not see him. This was his 7th day in the Sahara. The loneliness and exhaustion were breaking his mind. He became sure that he would not survive. At that moment, a dark thought entered his mind. He decided not to wait for death anymore. He wrote a farewell message to his family using charcoal. Then, he cut his wrist veins and lay down inside the shrine, waiting to die. But something unexpected happened. Due to extreme dehydration, his blood had become too thick to flow. Instead of bleeding out, the blood clotted quickly. When Moro opened his eyes, he was still alive. Even death had refused to take him. After this moment, something changed inside Moro. He realized that he was not meant to die there. With new determination, he treated his wounds and started walking again. Using his compass to move toward distant mountains, he traveled only in the morning and evening, resting during the extreme heat. At night, he buried himself in sand to stay warm. He drank liquid from plant roots and ate anything he could find, even snakes and insects. His body had become extremely thin. He had lost around 15 kilograms. On the 8th day, he finally saw greenery in the distant sun oasis. There was muddy water, but his throat was so swollen that drinking was painful. Still, he drank slowly and survived. On the 9th day, he saw goats. Following them, he reached a young girl. She got scared and ran away, but returned with her grandmother. They helped him and took him to a military camp. There, he was arrested at first because he had unknowingly crossed into Algeria. He was 291 kilometers off track. After 9 days, he finally called home. His family had already lost hope, but he survived.